we pop the champagne to get this conversation going?
Yes, let's do it.
I love it. I'm scared where this is gonna go.
No.
I'm not gonna aim it at you.
We've done this a million times.
Don't worry.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. All right.
That really has never happened.
That has
never happened.
Of course, right? Yeah. Who shook it? That's hilarious. Oh, thank you.
Welcome.
As we're pouring the champagne that did not spill on the carpet.
Nope.
Never. We are really excited to be here today to talk to the boutique More to Love about all the incoming questions we've had essentially over the year, and just to answer all those questions that everybody is, dying to know as they plan their weddings. And we're hoping that we can have some really great answers for you today.
Yeah, and we have definitely some burning questions about alterations.
Amazing.
We're here for it. Does a bride ask questions about anything else other than alterations? Right. I don't know. Yeah. Sometimes that's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're super excited to have some experts here with us. So yeah.
Hey.
Amazing.
Cheers.
Let's get into a great conversation.
Yes. Cheers. All right. Who wants to start?
Okay. Let me just grab some paper towel.
I love it. Yep. That's going to be a good
save the carpet.
Right? Yeah.
That's going to be a good blooper.
Let's spray some couture saver.
Do you know what happened? When Keisha on the weekend was fitting, and for some reason her knee started bleeding, blood all over the carpet. And I was like, oh my god, did you use like dish soap? And she's like, no, I use the couture saver, and it got it out. So I feel like today we've written a couple questions down because we had to talk about what have we seen over the last bit, what are brides coming in with, and we kind of narrowed down some of the hot topics. But what have you been finding this season? Because you guys are really starting to ramp up now.
Yes.
And I'm sure the questions are happening. So what's been going on here?
I mean, should we just get right into it?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So probably the thing that we hear, one of the things that we hear the most, okay, there's a lot of things, is how much can I expect basic alterations to change the overall look of the dress? So like things like we hear in appointments like, oh, the dress is too long and I'm gonna lose all this beautiful detail when I shorten it. So what does that mean? How is that gonna look? And also the second thing is adding sleeves.
That's been a big one this year. Adding the sleeves.
Arm coverage, that kind of thing. How possible is it if I don't have an armhole?
Right, if you don't have an armhole.
Yes.
So if there is no armhole, it definitely makes things pretty challenging. We have done different things, and you can totally chime in on this, where a bride, we've added like a little spaghetti strap, and then she's had these almost little clipped in flutter sleeves, which is a nice addition. But it really does depend on the armhole and armhole placement. I know this is a hot topic for you because it seems to come up quite a bit, but what kind of styles have we typically seen with that? Besides the flutter, I feel like that's a big one, and the separate.
Yes, I definitely think a big trend is those removable glove style sleeves. It's just like a tube, but at least it kind of comes up high enough that they get some of the coverage they want.
Right.
I find when you're trying to sew in a full sleeve into a gown, not only having an armhole, but the shape of the armhole will make a huge difference in the way the sleeve sits on the arm. So we've definitely gotten very creative in adding different styles of sleeves. But we're always very realistic with brides up front, like what style will or won't work with their style of dress specifically, and different things that we can do to make a sleeve work, but it could always change the look of certain things. So like Tanis said, adding a spaghetti strap on a strapless gown. If you want a sleeve that's actually being sewn in, we do need something there.
Right to that cap of the spaghetti strap, because again, you're going to have that odd shape of an armhole, and there's nowhere really to fix that in.
And it can cause some like weird bubbling too if it's not on the right spot on your shoulder and on your arm. One big thing that we've done a lot this year are adding in full sleeves, but they're open underneath the arm. So like right when their arm is down, you can't really tell, but when they lift their armpit, it's actually separated from the dress because it allows for a little bit more movement, and then it also doesn't compromise the detail underneath. So we get a lot of the dresses that have like the mesh V panels under the arm. You can't really sew a sleeve into that, but everything all around looks like a
sleeve.
normal armhole
Yeah,
that you can
yeah.
put a sleeve, so it really just attaches along the top. When your arm is down, you can't fully tell, and then you've got that bit of a gap, but then it's still nice and tight and fitted on the rest of your arm. So there's kind of different creative ways
I was
to
gonna
make
say
it work.
creativity is the biggest thing. I think when you're looking for a tailor that fits to what your vision is, going over all of the solutions, there's always some form of a solution.
Right.
And I say that wholeheartedly because I feel like we've seen it all this year where we're like, how on earth is that going to happen?
Yeah.
But then, what's really great about our team is everybody can kind of put their design ideas in and come up with these really unique ways that the bride is like, wow, it really does look like I have a sleeve, but now I've got the comfort to move and I've made it work with a style I never thought was possible.
Okay.
I know we were briefly talking about how much can a dress come in? I think that's a common question that we're getting as well.
Yes.
Now, typically when you say you take a lace dress and then you take something that is a solid, let's say a crepe, right?
Yep.
If that dress is coming in multiple sizes, let's just say, for example, you're gonna see a lot more on the crepe dress than you are on, say, a lace or an embellished dress. Lace dresses and dresses with embellishing, there's a lot more opportunity to hide or add or remove because you've got all that detail. Whereas a crepe dress, when you're taking it in multiple sizes, especially if the back measurement is lower than the front, when you go to take that in, you've got quite a bit of a difference in your measurements, and that has to blend together. So that's where you'll start to see, okay, has that been taken in more than a couple sizes because you still need coverage in the front. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it definitely does depend on the style. We have had dresses that are a size, say 26, and they're going down to an 18.
Wow.
Absolutely doable. Again, that's where the creativity comes in of how are we going to make this work, and consultations are really important when that happens, right? But there's always a solution.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
And a lot of our designers are also showing bodysuits, which are a nice option for strapless dresses.
Yes.
Because then you have your arm coverage, you have your sleeves, but it's not affecting the strapless gown in itself.
Right.
So it's a good option to have. Give the option
You
to.
give the option.
Yeah.
Now, our question for you is when you have a bride coming in, what are the things that they need to prepare and take into consideration when they're arriving at your boutique? What things should they have in hand ready to go to try on the selection of dresses that you have?
Great question. So prior to coming into the boutique, we always touch base with our brides, just kind of answer any questions that they have. And that is something that they might not be familiar, because if it is the first time they're going shopping for a wedding dress, do I bring shoes? Do I bring, whatever? But so what we say is just come in undergarments that you would feel comfortable being around the stylist with, just because our stylists are trained to be in the rooms to help the brides in and out of dresses. I mean, wedding dresses sometimes get too heavy, they have lots of layers, and we want to make sure there's no accidents in the room, so we have our stylists in there to help them step in and out of the dresses. Strapless bras are a great starting point, but in some of our dresses it may not be necessary. So depending on what they're trying on, our stylist might recommend them just to remove the bra, because they really need to feel the dress, especially with studios that have that built-in corset. You don't need any undergarments for that, designer. But shoes are not necessary at that point, because we do have our pedestal and our dresses are all different lengths depending on the designer. But definitely just bring an open mind and a strapless bra and any undergarments that they would feel comfortable being around the stylist.
Okay, that's amazing.
And I would say bring the guests with you that you want their opinion, the ones that you want to hear their opinion.
Yes,
There are some
absolutely.
people that maybe should stay at home.
Yes.
I'm just gonna be honest.
And I think, you know what, touching base on, I know we talk about this often, is coming in, like when we say feeling good, because we often do this in alterations, we'll say, do your hair, put on some, like, it's your special moment to try on these gowns and embrace the person that you are.
Right.
I know we were talking about that, but also just being comfortable in your own skin, have fun with it. I mean, when we first came into the boutique, we were just amazed by the warmth and the variety and the fun. Like, this shouldn't be a stressful situation.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you have anything to touch on that, but for us as tailors, you know, we often have clients come in and we always say it's not about the size you wear, it's how you wear the size.
Yes.
That's always been a motto of ours, and something we talk about is when you try on these dresses, you want to feel incredible in the skin that you're in, not feeling like you have to be somebody else.
Totally.
We're just the alterationists that take it that little step forward of, let's show off your tushy because it looks fantastic. Or, you know, the curves that you have, like wear it, own it, because they look incredible, right? And
absolutely.
really highlighting the most beautiful parts of you, right? So I think that's a big one.
Yeah, you got to feel good when you're coming in and you're putting your dress on, whether it be, I think, when you're shopping or even when you're going into the fitting process, because you do have to, like, envision yourself in that special moment on your big day. And, you know, if you're coming in and you're like, oh, I feel gross today and I don't look great, and, you know, and then you're putting the dress on, you're not really feeling that, like, special feeling that you should be getting. And I think the planning process itself is already very overwhelming and very stressful. And, you know, when a bride is coming in and they're putting their dress on, we want them to feel like they're having fun and they're feeling excited for the wedding and forgetting about all the extra stress that they're having. So we do always tell our brides, like, do what you have to do to feel good before you put that dress on. And if you're not feeling good, you know, what can we do to change that mindset or that feeling before you put the dress on? Because you really should be in a good place and feeling good before, you know, you start to get
I love
into
your
that.
comment about the entourage. It does make a difference. Like, we find when brides are coming in for their alteration appointments on their own, you know, we're for it too, and we will be their entourage, but bringing in the right people that are going to make you feel empowered and great is what it's all all about, right?
Yeah, makes a huge difference.
It does, yeah, it really
having
does.
a supporting group around you.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think too, like, a lot of brides might think like this is the one and only time that this person can come because I want them to be, and I want them to be there, but there are other appointments. They can come back for an accessory appointment. Maybe that's when you bring that aunt or that sister with you.
Yeah,
so you can put the dress back on, and it's just about opinions about accessories.
Exactly.
Or for your pickup appointment, your meet the dress appointment, bring that person with you because it's special.
Well, this is it, and we were just saying, like, when it comes to the alterations timeline of things. So typically for alterations, for our clients, we book them in for a standard 4 appointments. That's a typical standard timeline as to how many times you're going to be seeing our faces. Maybe more. It just depends how you're feeling.
Right.
We do book that full appointment schedule out just so brides have that expectation of knowing, okay, this is when I'm going to be coming next. And they can also see the dress transition to it being their gown. When it comes to the family, we often will say, you know, on the 3rd and pickup appointments, bring somebody with you, because that's when we start getting into the fun training of the dress. So you've got like the bustle, you've got what accessories they're wearing, how the veil's gonna go in. You want that person with you to kind of have all those tasks the morning of so that you can enjoy your day. So we definitely recommend the 3rd or the pickup having somebody. Now, not all the time, and this is a good tip for a lot of brides, can they bring somebody who isn't available? So what we will do is we'll have one of our other team members actually film the appointment of the training, whether it be, okay, this is how you're going to put the bustle in, this is where you find the hook or the loop, and we'll go through all of that so they've got that tool on the wedding day to pull out if they forget, if their sister or their mom or their best friend wasn't there, and that just helps make it a more seamless process.
Super helpful. That's awesome.
That's great.
Another thing too, we were touching on the whole, you know, feeling your best when you're coming to your appointment. And Monica touched on how we, you know, touch base with the brides before they come for their appointment. And that's the opportunity the bride has, like, to kind of say, I'm feeling nervous about this, or I have questions about sleeves or arm coverage. Maybe that's a big one people ask about, or even sizing. So one thing I will say is that, you know, our brides tend to be more on the nervous side, I think, than probably any other brides. So because they don't do a lot of shopping in store for their regular clothes.
Right.
So one thing we do like to say is that during your appointment, we are not talking about sizes. No. Our store is full of a range of sizes that go all the way, you know, from lower end, upper end, all the things in between. So some of the styles, some of the dresses are going to fit you well.
Yeah.
Some are going to be big and have to be clamped. Some are going to be open in the back with a panel.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a range. And when you pick your gown, then we just get into sizing at that point. But again, it's not like a whole focus of your shopping experience here. So
I feel like we always said, I feel like sizes should be names. Like, would you like to try on gorgeous? Or, do you know what I mean? Or flirty.
Color
Why are they,
coordinated.
right? Like, can they be something like
Other than
cooler than
numbers?
that? And be like, you can try on gorgeous? Which one? Like, that to me just sounds so much more fun. But I love to hear that when clients are visiting the boutique, that, you know, again, there is that warmth. And I say it wholeheartedly, but be a little vulnerable, because that's where you're really going to be able to connect with your stylist, connect with your tailor, so that because we can't be mind readers. We always say, like, we try based off of just eyes, but, you know, body language. But the reality is we want to know how you're feeling.
Right.
You know, in our line of business as tailors, you know, sometimes people can get their backs up because it's about the work that the tailor has done. Is, oh my gosh, is this an insult to the tailor? For our team, we would prefer you to say, I don't feel my best because of this, or I don't feel as supported because of this, so that we can help you
100%.
feel the best to your ability walking out our doors, right? Because our name's on the sign.
Right.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
My favorite thing to tell brides is be annoying. They're like, we do. I'm really sorry. And I'm like, do it. Just tell me. Be as annoying as you need to be, because I would rather know every little thing in your head, so I can actually, you know, come up
Address
with
a solution. Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely
because here's
better.
the thing. You're going to pick your dress up from alterations, and what are you going to do?
Right.
You're going to go home and you're going to put it on.
You are.
We know you do this. Okay? We know you do this. Because who wouldn't want to put their dress on more than one time? But then you're going to stand in front of the mirror, you're going to nitpick this, or what about that? And it's just better to get it all out there at your fitting,
Right.
have it done, and then know that you're leaving, because we've checked all those boxes off, and we've had those conversations.
Yeah.
I know one of the biggest things is support. Do you ever have clients coming in and have specific support questions, specifically the bust area? We find that's a really big one with our clients.
Yeah, so majority of the designers we carry here are also customizable. So if the designer allows for us to request additional boning in the bust, or, you know, adding more support into the bust area, we will also have the designer do it. But in some cases, additional support may be needed, and that's where kind of that comes into alterations.
Right.
So our question is, if the designer has already added additional boning, is there opportunity to add more support? Or
think,
what if there's an alternative
Yeah.
to, maybe not boning, but if there's an alternative that you could recommend?
Yeah, so fit is a big one. We were talking about this on our way here. Is if you've got a bust and you want to feel secure in whatever style you're wearing, our rule of thumb for alterations is that it's got to be snug in your rib cage. When the gown is snug in your rib cage, like, you still want to be able to enjoy the food that you've spent money on. But the reality is, if it's tight in your rib cage, it's right below that bust line, that's actually going to help hold the weight of the dress up and give you more support up here. Now, a common mistake with alterations is that some tailors can take the dress in just too much at the top, and that's when you're getting the dig in. It does not matter if you're a size 0 or a size 30, it doesn't matter.
Right.
If it's taken in that little hair too much, that's where you're going to feel that in your photos, that's going to show. So rule of thumb, rib cage is where you want it to be snug. For support, we've got cups that we can look at putting in. We have cups that go up to H, G, that we can see if that helps to provide a little bit of support. Or if you just want the girls kind of perking up a little bit, we also have, we call them our cups and cookies. They're little cookie inserts, and they just get sewn directly into the dress, and they just kind of help hold your bust where it needs to go without, again, giving too much cleavage. You don't want to feel overspilled.
Yeah.
It'll just help kind of hold everything in place. So that's another option. Bustiers, because we were also talking about that today. Bustiers, it's like a love-hate relationship with bustiers.
There's definitely a
I feel like.
limitation, especially with the style of dress, like what will show, what won't show.
Correct.
Even with shapewear in general, like
Right.
if you're doing like Spanx with the shorts, and you know, maybe you're seeing line, or if you've got an open back dress. One thing that we like have done in the past a few times, where if a padded cup or the little cookie pad, they're not, you know, giving you enough of what you need. We'll have our brides, like, we'll say, you know, you probably have that old strapless bra at home. That's your exact cup size. It has the underwire. It's got the underwire in there, because underwire does a lot.
Yes.
But underwire is difficult to add to sew right into certain styles of dresses if it won't work with that dress. So we'll tell our brides, bring that bra. If you don't care about us chopping it up, we'll actually cut the straps off the bra. We'll take the cups of the bra that have the underwire within them, and we'll sew those into their dress, because it just gives them that like a little bit of extra support, but they can still have that open back style. It won't compromise the look of the dress or show throughout their illusion or areas they don't want it showing. So
And sometimes shapewear is not always the answer. Like, we will have brides say, oh, do I need to? And I'm like, first of all, you have to be comfortable.
Yes.
Right? I mean, how often do we
100%.
wear these dresses?
Yeah.
It's not like we're driving down the street in a car wearing one of these. But you want to be comfortable, right? You want to live.
Yes.
You want to live your day. So we will tell a lot of our brides when they're coming in for fittings, bring what you think you want to wear, and then let's see realistically, does it make a difference? Sometimes somebody will put Spanx on and we're like, how comfortable are those? And like, these suck. I'm like, just remove them. At this point, we find that the Spanx, the only reason we tell a lot of brides to put them on is so you don't get the chafing of your legs.
Yes. Yes.
That's pretty much one of the bonuses of it. And then it just depends on the style of dress and how comfortable you are, right?
Yeah,
right.
But if you don't need it, don't wear it.
So hot tip.
Yes.
If someone doesn't want compression, but they want that thigh saving thing.
Yeah.
There's actually a brand called Thigh Society. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
We have not.
They're really great. Yeah, there's a link in our bio on Instagram for their thigh saver shorts, and they're super lightweight, thin fabric, which is great. They're cooling. Yeah, super thin.
Do they have a surged?
So they
like
do have they do have a finishing on the seam. So, but it's really thin, super thin fabric. Like, it's not like a compression short that's a little bit thicker there, and so they're great. I wear them all summer, basically.
Love that.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, so a lot of our brides who choose an A-line, for example, they
Yeah.
might just need that for that cooling effect, and not so much about the compression and like the stuff.
One thing we love for the A-line styles, when you want that cooling air underneath the gown, are the hoops.
So let's be like clear of what these are, because I feel like they're like a hoop.
Yeah.
What is that?
Hula hoop.
There's a hula hoop that goes under your dress, and it kind of is.
Kind of is, yeah.
But there are two different things. There's a crinoline,
Yes.
and then there's a hoop. The crinoline, yes, you can absolutely do a crinoline under a wedding
volume.
gown.
It's more for volume.
For volume, but it does add a lot of extra layers and weight to your dress. So we are very pro hoops.
Okay.
And you kind of think of like the 1800s, you sit down, this thing's gonna come flying up at you, all the lady bits are showing. It's totally not like that. It's not like
Chose
that.
the perfect time to take a sip.
Yeah, you should
Always.
get back on the carpet. It is not like that, ladies. The hoop, it's like ventilation. It's like your little air conditioning system without having fans strapped to your legs.
It gives you that bubble of space around your legs from all the fabric falling on
They're
you.
amazing.
Feeling like you got to kick those layers out between your legs.
Yeah.
It's just like that little space around your legs, and it even sometimes allows like air to come up under the dress too, which is a
Makes
lot more
it
cooling
easier
on
to
those hot
dance.
days. 100%.
Like,
and
we're
go
just
pee.
pro. Yeah.
We love the hooper going pee. Just pull it right up.
Pull it up.
Stuff the dress
Stuff everything inside.
Yeah.
Do your business.
Perfect.
They're amazing. So they're
Interesting.
definitely good. It's definitely a good add-on for any brides that are still wanting that, princess style dress or more of the volume, but then they just don't want to be hot all day.
Right.
The hoops are also adjustable. So you don't have to have this crazy volume. You can actually take it in and have less volume at the bottom, but you're still getting that breathability.
Right.
So under an A-line dress, for
Correct.
example, does that have
Yeah.
to
So if
ball
you're like,
down?
I really don't want it really poofy.
Okay.
I just want a little something something, or I just want a little air conditioning. Then you would make the hoop smaller.
That's great.
Take your shoes off. You can make it bigger.
I think that's the biggest misconception too with the hoop, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can make it bigger. Raise the hem a
You
little
just blew
bit.
my mind a little bit right
That-
there.
that's
I never
our
thought
next
about
Yeah,
that.
I feel like in the next coming years, hoops are going to be making more of an appearance, especially in the alterations side
Right.
for things. But they're also really nice to have in the boutique, just because it does make that little extra change. You're like, oh my gosh, this is my dress, right?
So,
Love that.
Yeah.
So logistically, is this something that you have in your shop
We
for
do.
people for purchase, or is it
Rent
something?
them.
Oh, you
Yeah,
rent
we
them.
rent
Because
them out.
again, how often? Like,
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it when
What
the
are you
wedding's
gonna
done?
do?
Yeah.
right?
Fair.
Right?
Fair.
So we do rent them. They're easy to pick up, put it on. If you want to remove it throughout the night, you
Okay.
can. You can change up. Some brides will even not wear it going down the aisle and then put it on for the reception, just so again, they just have a little more, they can party, they can dance, and
Right.
they have a little more air.
Can you just explain
Yeah.
the no shoes thing so people understand what you mean by that?
The
Like,
no shoes. Okay. So
what happens?
Yeah, it happens.
Oh, that helps.
So, depending on the style of dress you have, you don't really have to care too much about the shoes. They're more of a photo opportunity, I find, in the morning. But be comfortable, ladies. Like, I would really try and find something that's going to be comfortable that you can wear throughout the day. But generally speaking, after the ceremony and when you're going into the reception, a lot of brides are removing them. They're going to sneakers. They're going to flip-flops. They are wearing nothing. It really just depends on the client, but I definitely recommend having either like 2 different styles, comfortable one, and then one for your photos. But comfort is really the big thing with the shoes for us.
So if heel height changes, then when
Correct.
you either go to a flip flop, so how do you deal with that? Like you're not
Yeah.
tripping on your dress during the reception.
Yeah.
Okay.
The hoop is
Okay.
great for that because, like Tanis said, if you pop the hoop out wider, it actually raises your dress up off the ground a little bit because the dress is going out. So that helps if you're going to a flat shoe or a lower heel because you're getting that height. When it comes to alterations specifically, we get brides asked that a lot. They're like, what do I do when I change my shoes later, when I take them off? For hemming, we always go based off of shoes they're going to wear for their photos.
Right.
That's the most important thing. Usually for photo and video, they want the look to be perfect. So we'll hem you to the shoes that you're wearing in your photos, the shoes you're wearing down the aisle so you're not tripping.
Right.
And then if you kick off your heels at some point, whichever one does, you kind of just have to wear it to the ground. At that point, if you're dragging a little,
And at this
so
point,
be it. You want to
the
just
shoes
enjoy
are
that.
done.
Yeah,
You're going to
that's
be
true.
lifting it up. Like, it's party time. And we do, like, that's a very big question we get. And we're just
Yeah.
like, have fun with the dress. At this point, the main stuff are done. But you do have the hoop as a tool if you need it
Right.
later in the evening. Like, you got it to change the look and feel of your dress, right?
Such a great alternative.
Do they make hoops for mermaid dresses?
They do.
Like, is that a thing?
They
Okay.
do.
Yeah.
So how the hoops go, because it's a little education here on the hoops, is there's different rings. So our most popular one is a 1 ring because the ring is at the very bottom of the dress and you can just, adjust as needed. If you want more volume going up the dress, you can do a 2 ring, a 3 ring, a 4 ring, and they get larger. But you can adjust them to how much fullness you want.
Okay.
Which is nice, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Wow.
Well, thanks for that.
Okay, so my question for you guys is for a bride who's coming into the shopping process for the first time, they've never done it before, they're coming to your boutique, what's something that they should know about bridal dress shopping or coming into this process that they probably don't know? I feel like even when it comes to timelines, stuff like that, people are usually quite shocked when they hear how long things actually take.
It's been, and I have to say before we answer this question, it's been an interesting season this year as far as timelines go. It's been, we're not gonna lie, it's been a little crazy. Like, we've gotten calls saying, I'm getting married tomorrow, and we're like, pull your socks up, ladies, we're here all night. Like, we've had those conversations because we're still we're still adjusting to life, I feel like, from the last few years. So timelines for us has been a hot topic.
Yes.
And we're going to address the timelines in a
Yes.
second. But do you want to talk about just kind of what to expect when you're coming in for the first time?
Yeah, where do I start? A lot of brides don't realize that, like, you know, it's okay, you can shop the store. We're not going to talk, again, like I said, we're not going to talk about sizing. Like, your stylist is there to guide you and like take care of you and
Be your cheerleader.
be your cheerleader. Yes, absolutely. And advocate for you as well if that's a thing that's needed. And yeah, in terms of timelines, what we like to say is that I will say this disclaimer: we can work with any timeline.
Yes.
We can get you a dress
Yes.
regardless of your timeline.
There's a couple designers we cannot do rushes with.
I understand that, but we can get them a dress.
Yes, absolutely.
You are not going.
Maybe not
down
the dress.
aisle.
Maybe not, but we will guide you and make sure that you don't fall in love with a dress that you can't have.
Correct.
Is what I'm
Yes.
trying to say by that.
Yes, that totally makes sense.
But in general, do you want to talk about timelines in general, because you're very
Yeah.
good at it?
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
typically, a great time to start is about 12 to 14 months out. Okay.
And this shocks people.
Yes.
This
Yes, it
shock
does.
people because they're worried that styles are going to change.
Right.
And they're like, I can't commit. I can't pull the trigger. Something's going to change, and I'm going to change my mind. It goes by fast, guys.
It does.
Like really fast.
And-
And styles don't change like overnight.
No.
In the sense that that's a very healthy timeline to start with.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
So
Okay.
fast fashion, or just fashion in general, has a season. Trends are happening every season. You know, you got your fall, winter, spring, summer. With bridal actually has a longer shelf life.
Right.
So certain, like we see some of the trends happening last season, they're going to continue on for the next at least 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
Yes.
And we
Something-
see that through alterations.
Yeah,
all the
absolutely.
time.
So don't panic. That trend of a basque waistline will still be here in
Right.
2026. We are just getting started with some of these bigger trends that just came to light. But the reason we say 12 to 14 months, and mind you, okay, so you're engaged. Congratulations. That's awesome. Find your venue and pick a date.
Yes.
Those are the two key things
Yes.
to do
Yes.
prior to coming to shop.
Please.
Because
Please.
Yes.
so many things. Okay, well, first we need to know when you're getting married.
Yes.
Are you getting married next month, or are you getting married in 2 years? And then
venue.
and venue.
Venue can change the
Yes.
whole feel of the dress. Like
Yes.
the venue it's gotta match the dress.
Absolutely. And
Vibe.
just have a little bit of idea of what the vibe of the wedding. Like, what's
Yeah.
the theme? Are we going a little modern? Are we going a little more classic? So just fine, but you don't have to have that completely narrowed down. So, okay, so you come for your shopping, first time ever stepping into a store. A lot of brides, I say, come with an open mind, because a lot of brides come and they're like, I want this. This exact dress.
This is a really big one.
It's so different when
Can
you
we
try it
tell you
on.
fun fact
Try
about
everything.
alterations with this? You would not believe the amount of brides that come in for their alterations, and guess what dress it was that they tried on? That the one that they picked.
The very first one.
The first one.
Yep.
The first one. And it wasn't even, a lot of brides will say to us, I wanted a ball gown, and they're in a fit and flare. Like it's usually the complete opposite, because it's not on your body. So
Complete.
explain more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these dresses have zero hanger appeal. And of course, when
Yeah.
you're scrolling through Pinterest, you're seeing these dresses. But again, you're probably seeing them, especially for our brides, you're probably seeing them on a size 4, 6, 10 model, which may look a lot different. And every single person that dress will look different on.
Yes.
So it's not about the looking, it's how you're feeling in the dress.
Correct.
And like you said, a lot of brides come and they try on the very first dress and like, wow, this is beautiful, we'll continue. But then we always come back to that first one. Okay, great. So you say yes to the dress. That's fantastic. So now we go into our part of the business. We're dealing with the designers. So the actual production time of a dress does not take 8 to 9 months.
Now, can I just say with your team, with your team, these ladies have so much experience when it comes to the back end of designing the gown. So anyone who is visiting us for the first time and saying, More to Love, what are they about? Look them up, because they aren't just selling dresses, they actually have years of experience in the production of the dresses, which to me is invaluable knowledge that you're not necessarily going to get everywhere. Right?
Oh, yes. Thank you for
Thank you for saying that.
That's
Yes.
awesome.
I was very impressed by that. I was just like, wait a minute, this is crazy. I had no idea. So back on to the back end.
So the designer end of things, these dresses aren't just hanging in a warehouse somewhere.
Yeah.
And we're not just pulling your size and having it shipped to us.
Right.
Now, in some cases, yes, that may be some of our better sellers, they might have stock, but that's very on rare occasions, and that is accessible to everybody around the world. So if we are pulling something for a rush bride, for example, we're always checking what is available within that time frame.
Okay.
But going to a brand new dress that is being made for that bride, going back to, it does not take 6 to 9 months to make that physical dress. But what it is that every designer has a production queue. So these dresses get slotted in to, depending on when we want them to ship.
Right.
And they have to get their fabrics, they have to gather their notions, they have to
Process.
go through all of those
Huge.
production areas. Okay, then it gets cut. Then you go to the sewing, then you go through quality control. So again, these are in stages that happen in the designer's end, and then the shipping, and then all.
And also, if you're doing customizations to your
yeah.
dress, like if we're
Pulling the
raising the
ball.
neckline,
Yeah.
closing the plunge,
Yeah.
adding
Yep.
a slit, swapping a top and a skirt, the list goes on.
Yeah.
We have to have those discussions with the designer about the specifics of those customizations so they're done correctly.
Right.
There's a lot of back end stuff that the owners really have to do that we don't think about as consumers.
Right.
Right?
And then you were talking about shipping, so we
Right.
want to also have a little bit of lead time if, heaven forbid,
Yes.
something arrives incorrect
Yes.
and we need to have something changed or swapped or fixed
So
or
keeping
whatever,
that in
remade.
mind, like there's a backup plan for a backup plan for a backup
Yes.
plan. Right?
And this is why
Always.
you need so many
Always.
months.
Yes.
Give
Yes.
yourself that time, definitely.
Yeah. To make it a seamless process, you know, we're all human, like, we want to be prepared for anything, I think,
Yeah.
when it comes to the businesses, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think COVID really taught us that, right?
Huge, yeah.
We're going through the logistic, like just the shipping and receiving
challenges.
and all
Yes.
that. And so we're now adding a little bit of extra time, like a buffer. But so we ideally would like that bride's dress here in our store about 4 to 5 months before the wedding. That's a comfortable time for them to
Yes.
come in, because also too at 5 months, if they haven't decided on their accessories, that meet the dress appointment is a perfect time to be like, okay, this is like your
Right.
last chance.
Absolutely.
We still have to order that.
Right.
So
Great
that 4 to 5 months is just comfortable. You know it's here. You know it looks great. We got your accessories done. Now you may still be looking for your shoes or all of your other things that you want to go with the dress. And then you go to start alterations about, 3, 4 months?
Even more. So what we have been telling brides recently, probably in the last couple of years, is that when you know when your expected delivery date of your gown is going to be, whatever date that is that you get. Now that can change. It depends, right? Because we talk about having those buffer times.
Right.
But when you get from the boutique, okay, this is the expected delivery date, at that time, that's when you should be booking your alterations. Because what our team will do is say, okay, it's arriving around the week of January 15th, we're gonna start your first fitting there. With knowing that if anything changes with the boutique, we can always move those appointments around. But getting the time slots is really, really important when it comes to the alteration process, because as you said, that 12 to 14 month time span, we also need that for alterations because we're women. Our bodies change, we fluctuate. We don't know what we're gonna be 3 months from now, 2 weeks, we're women.
Yeah.
So we need to have that lead time for alterations to be able to follow you right up till your wedding day, to know that our team can handle the volume.
Right.
And handle those last minute tweaks.
Right.
So we tell brides to reach out to an alterationist from our list.
Yes.
Whoever that is based on their location, because we see brides from all over Ontario.
over,
Actually, out of province as well, I should
Yes,
say.
yeah.
In the US. So we tell them to reach out to an alterationist after they purchase their dress, give them the wedding date and the approximate arrival date so that they can be
Exactly.
on the calendar. That
Yes.
you would say that's good advice. Yes.
Great idea.
100%. The
And-
earlier the better.
And the other thing that we're finding this season and a bit of last season is brides are starting alterations November, December, Jan. So normally that would be a bit of our off season, but a lot of brides are starting the bulk of their work. So if they purchased a sample, for example, or they have selected a dress earlier in time and it came in a bit earlier.
You want a lot of customizations. Like, the earlier you start, the better.
The earlier you start, there is a misperception of, oh my gosh, if I start in November and my wedding is July, say, of the following year, what if I fluctuate? Like, how can my body possibly be the same? You are correct. But getting the bulk of that work, especially customizations, is really detrimental because then it gives you more availability of time. You can really start seeing that vision come to life, and we follow you all the way up to the day anyways.
Adjustments can always be made
They can
closer
always
to the
be
wedding. You know,
But it's
I
hammering
find-
out the big ticket items that brides might be nervous
Exactly.
about leading into the alterations world.
I feel like some of us, you know, we can fluctuate. Our body could feel different literally every single week. You know, we do like to follow our brides as close to the wedding as we can, but we like to start as early as possible to get the initial evaluation done of what work we're gonna like be getting into as we go throughout the process.
Sure.
And it's nice that you've got multiple appointments and you're starting early because you can kind of slowly see it change and be part of the process with us. I find it's more scary when it's like, okay, here's my dress. I'll pick it up the week of the wedding and everything will be
That
done.
gives me heart palpitations.
Oh my God. You want to see it change along the way. You want to be part of it. You want to have your voice included as things are
Right.
changing because, you know, you might adjust one area and it might make another area of the dress look different. Or, you know, you might change your mind. Like you said, you might put it on and be like, you know what, like I'm not loving this neckline
again.
anymore, you know, and it's months and months later and now we're going in and we're making adjustments. So we like to start early and kind of slowly make those changes along the way, see you multiple times and let you be part of the change little by little and make sure you're feeling good about every step of the way.
And trust the process.
Yes.
Right? And
Yes.
leave it up to the professionals. Now, getting back to that timeline again. So bridal, yes, it's a very long lead time, but I feel like the moms of the weddings and bridal party or anybody looking for a special occasion, that also takes time.
Yes.
We are a specialty boutique that it's not like the mall. You don't walk in, you have an event on Saturday, and you're gonna walk out with something else.
No.
So that's something also, and you will need alterations as well. So
I'm going to talk a little bit too about and bring this topic up because we've talked about it as a team. Purchasing online. I'm going to say it because there's a lot, I think,
Yes.
of moving parts in that where,
Yes.
you know, a lot of the time when we talk about these special events, because we're seeing more and more things are being purchased online because you want a good price. You don't want to spend as much.
Sure.
But there can be significant headaches. And we've have some stories, a lot of stories from this year, where it is not what you are thinking. And it's in turn going to cost you more once it goes into the alterations department. I don't know if you guys have been seeing that as well. It's a bit of a new trend, but how are you finding that, and what is something that clients or consumers should know when they are possibly thinking of purchasing online?
Sometimes what we have seen from the special occasions side in that sense, it's like I bought something online and I got it and I don't love it.
Yes.
So now you don't have that lead time anymore because you waited for this thing to arrive
Right.
from
Yes.
who knows where.
Yes.
And now you have to buy something off the rack from us.
Yeah.
Or we can try and rush something maybe. But again, like rushing things it's not always
Dollars.
possible, and it costs more money,
It just
and
more time, more
yes,
stress, more headache,
yes.
and at that end of the day, you have to say to yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah.
You know, for the one-off that maybe something does fit great,
Sure.
you do need to think of the other side, that there can be more headaches involved with that.
Especially if you've
having-
never ordered from that place
Correct.
before,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like there's just so many
There's a lot.
unknowns. It's the unknown,
It
right?
is, yeah.
Here, if you're trying something on, or at a boutique, when you're trying something on that you're going to order, you have tried it on.
Yes.
Like there's
Right.
not surprises,
Correct.
for the most part, right? It's like-
Exactly.
Yeah.
yeah,
But I feel like you have a lot more
of that.
of that.
We do,
Yeah,
we do.
yeah.
Because I know online shopping is becoming really popular, and you know, for alterations, we see people, whether they've purchased online, whether they haven't, they borrowed, it doesn't matter. But I think we've seen quite a few things that have been shocking to us that we're like, okay, we need to touch base on this, you know, why you're purchasing from a boutique.
Right.
You know, what kind of, not just the experience, because the experience is a huge one for me personally as a consumer. I don't know, Steph, you're the same. Like, I want to touch, I want to feel, I want to over talk. I want to have that fun, right? Whereas when you're online and you're at home, you lose a lot of that. And you know, yeah, you're getting the cheaper price, but at what cost? So
Right.
I think for us, for alterations, that's a really big conversation with our team, is just being very mindful of all the components that comes with purchasing online.
Okay, so let me ask you.
Yeah.
What, like, your top horror story from an online purchase?
Probably the week of the wedding. Like, the dresses showed up late. It was the week of the wedding.
Like bridesmaids dresses or
Bridesmaid
something? Okay.
dresses. They all are wearing the same dress, so it's not like you can just go, oh, I'm gonna go get another one. And the dress was sizes too small. Like, we're talking sizes. And it was not what it was described as, and our team literally had to work within like hours in production, back and forth, trying to recreate a dress. And even think, okay, a red dress, there's a bunch of different variations of red.
Yeah.
So now it's also sourcing the fabric. Does the fabric work? Does it look added? You know, now you're seeing this in all the photos. Is the bride going to be happy with that overall? Because like, it is an investment. You're spending a lot on your wedding day.
Yes.
So we have heard that. Can you think of anything else at the top of your head?
I feel like you know,
Hems?
something that people forget when it comes to like the quality of a garment as well. You can also tell the quality of something from the inside, not just from the outside. When it comes to like construction and tailoring,
Falling apart.
we can tell like from the
Shredding.
techniques that are used, from
Right.
certain fabrics that are used, and even just from the seams itself, because you know, when you're ordering from a higher quality designer, a lot of times they have alterations in mind, in
In mind,
consideration,
yes.
and
Right.
you'll see the, you know, the extra fabric in the
fabric.
seams to allow for letting something out or adjustments.
Yes.
Whereas, you know, the designers that are trying to cut on costs to give you a more affordable
Dress.
garment,
Right.
they've cut every single thing out. They've searched it to
They're
the tiniest.
unalterable, some of them.
Yeah, it makes
You know,
them
the
very
inches, or
difficult
we
to
have
adjust.
to tweak this. There's never enough in there.
Right.
And then also when it goes to production, you know, we use top equipment. Our team takes pride in the look of the dress, and now that's being compromised because the quality of the material isn't good, so it's shredding, or runs and pulls.
You know,
It's a
glue being
nightmare.
used and it yellowing.
We have seen
Yeah.
so many online purchases this year, and I'm even talking bridal.
Yes.
Glue, glue, glue,
And
glue.
it
They're
turns
gluing.
yellow. It
Like
turns
gluing,
yellow.
like
They are
appliques on?
gluing appliques, beadwork, crystals. Guys, like, there are ways to do it affordably that you're not going to be getting this in your photos. You're going to see it, or you're not going to be feeling your best. There are ways, you know, sample shopping.
Yes.
You know, that is an alternative where you're at least getting the quality, but you're still having those savings. And we work with our brides, you know, like some brides will come in and they'll have a 3-inch heel, and we're like, could you make it a 2? Or could you, you know, or they come in with a 1-inch, could you make it a 1.5? Because then you
Right.
might not need to alter the hem.
Sure.
We won't compromise the craftsmanship of the alterations. Like, we want the dress to look amazing, because their name's written all over it.
Right.
We will never compromise that. But there are ways we will try and help, you know, like, can we try this different shoe? If that's something you're comfortable with, that could save you hundreds of dollars. So we're always willing to help in different ways than going the online route.
Right.
Just from our tailoring side.
I do want to say too, we touched on sizing and now we're touching on the online thing. So something with our brides is that as plus size brides or as plus size people, we do a lot of shopping online.
Yes.
Because we have to.
Correct.
So there's a level of comfort, or sort of, I guess, a level of familiarity, I'll say,
It
with
arrives to
online
your
shopping.
door.
Yes.
You don't have to go in and have
I don't have to go into a
experience.
store and be rejected because they don't have my size.
Right.
Okay.
Or
right.
things like that. So that's a thing. But what I want to say, what I'm going to say is that at every price point in our store, so we start around $2 and we go up to like $7,500
Right.
and all the things in between. At every price point, we have a designer that has unlimited sizing.
Amazing.
So that means, not every line that you go to at other stores that have plus size dresses go up to, they have a limit, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
There is a limit. And so, we might have a couple of those lines here, but at every price point in our store, there is unlimited sizing opportunities for that bride who needs it.
That's amazing.
And do you want to go into a store? We have had this feedback. Do you want to go into a store and hold it up? And
Right.
you have to feel it. You have to be in it. Like the experience in itself is such a big component to this whole experience. And I know, like you said, online is a big part of that consumer, but it doesn't have to be.
Absolutely.
It does not have to be.
Yeah.
And seamlessly, it can be an amazing experience that you're going to remember forever.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything else we haven't covered?
We haven't touched on
Price range
of alterations.
Oh.
That's the most common question we get about
is a big
alterations.
one,
What do
yes.
I budget for alterations?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, if you're like adding some like sleeve or doing something elaborate, some kind of elaborate change in that sense, that's a different story.
Right.
But in general alterations.
Price
So I need a
range
hem, I
of
need a
them.
bustle, I need tailoring to the body,
Yes.
that kind of thing. What are the price ranges we're looking at?
I find there's a little misperception when it comes to the cost of what alterations are. So you think
course.
of like needing your pants hem.
Yeah.
You know, you pop into a store, they do it, 10 minutes later, you've got these pants hem. Bridal is a whole other ballgame. Whole other ballgame.
Yes.
It's a whole other process. It's a lengthy process.
Yes.
And it involves a lot of different hands. We have a production department. We have a finishings department. We have a front of house department that specifically does all the pinning. And these people that do this job are experts in fit and tailoring.
Right.
So when it comes to the pricing, it can range.
Sure.
It really depends on what is involved in your dress. Because like we said, it is a specialized art. We always say when we're doing alterations, it needs to be a manufactured finish. And basically what that means is if you get a dress altered and you can tell it's been altered, probably not the best job.
Right.
You should not be able to tell. So when we talk price point, there are lots of things to take into consideration. Labor of the job, so how long is it going to take our team to deconstruct that part of the dress before it even gets sewn? There are things like beadwork and lace. There's lace on the bottom of hems that have to fully come off by hand, and they also get put on by hand.
Back on.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very intricate.
It's very
Not glue.
meticulous.
Not glue.
It's
Not
all
glue.
hand
It's all hand done. And that does not even account for the fitting time.
Right.
Where we're actually putting figuring out how that end result is going to look. So there's a lot of moving parts to alterations.
For sure.
You can see it's the same as the dresses where you can see alterations start at $400 where they might just need a hem or straps adjusted or a bustle put in. And it can go all the way up into the thousands.
Sure.
It really just depends. So when you are looking for a gown, things to take into consideration is detail, beadwork and lace. Sometimes beads are sewn directly onto the applique, and when we lift that applique, it all comes off together. We're like, oh, this is lovely. Or it all comes off
In a million
one by one.
pieces, yeah.
And it has to be put back down.
Sure.
So in those types of jobs, you're gonna be going more into the $800-900. Typically, I'd say this year, average has probably been the $800-900 range.
Okay. Yeah.
I would say that's pretty average.
Yeah.
And again, it depends on the style of dress. So a
Right.
lot of these dresses we're seeing, like we had ostrich feathers in the other day.
wow.
In crescent, it was stunning. We had another one where, yes, it was all these little Swarovski crystals, hand placed on, or these 3D flowers that were put on. those all have to come off. And we will not compromise the integrity of the dress,
Right.
the look and the feel, because again, it's an investment. And here's another fun thing. After you get married, you've had this dress altered. Now you decide you're selling it. Or you want to change it and you want to have a short little cocktail dress for your 1-year anniversary. Seen so many of those this year where they want to repurpose it, right? Sustainability.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that it's done the right way
Sure.
so that you have options for your gown, because it is an investment piece.
100%. Yeah.
Right? So anything that you want to add to that? I feel like the cost
Yeah,
is a
I
big one.
find with cost, we do get a lot of clients who will reach out to ask for quotes and stuff like that. We really will not promise a price unless we're seeing the dress itself in person,
Sure.
because you can't always tell those exact finishings from the photo. This year more than ever, we're seeing a lot of unique techniques from the designers, which are a lot more labor intensive. Even the most simplest gowns that look like they won't need a lot of work, the inside is just so much more labor
I feel
intensive
like
than
we were
it
talking
really
about
seems.
This, the chain.
We've been seeing a lot of different
chain
things.
being sewn into seams where you have to take it all apart, and it's physical change. Chain for bottoms of hems to weigh it down. We've seen where it's been multiple layers, but they're all sewn individually. So you're like, oh, it's taken sides, but it's taken sides 13 layers.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? So a lot of things to think about and consider why the alterations of bridal attire is significantly different than our everyday streetwear.
Oh yeah, it's
Right?
definitely a specialty.
It's very specialized, and our team goes to school for design, so they have their design background and they have their credentials there and their degrees. But then with our team, they actually have a couple years of retraining, and not because the design program is not good, it's great, but because bridal is just so different.
Yes.
It requires a different level of skill set.
Yeah, a lot of specialization to be able to, understand a bridal gown. And I feel like we've seen it all, but every year we still see
You think
something
you've seen it all until you haven't.
And then we're like, well, okay, back to the drawing board. But that's what makes a great team too, because
Right.
there is so many of us, and because we all come from the design background and we have the credentials, we can sit down and something that I might not think of. Steph will say, oh my God, well, what about this technique? And I'm like, oh my
Yes.
God, I didn't even think of that. Or our production manager will say, oh my God, like one time I saw, why don't we try that? Like it gets really interesting and creative up in production. That's going to give you the end result of what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we try to alleviate a lot of that alterations or add-ons for you
Yes.
by having our designers do it.
Yes.
So if our designer, and like I think I mentioned this earlier, but 75% of the designers we work with are customizable.
Love that.
So if our bride is looking to add a sleeve or adding an extra layer of sparkle within the tool, we're going to have the designer do it so that it doesn't come to, when it comes to the alterations point, you're like, you just need basic.
And what an
All that-
experience, like what an added experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For the brides.
Yeah, I feel like
One-stop
there's
shop.
also a misconception when it comes to ordering your dress, and you go into the boutique and they're taking your size, your measurements, your bust, your waist, your hips, maybe even putting in those customizations for
That's
you.
gonna be perfect.
They think when the dress comes it'll fit perfectly and everything will be down to a T.
Very
We've
rare.
had brides say, well, they took my measurements, so it should have been made
Made
for
to
my
measure.
body. But alterations
No.
are always
Always
involved,
required.
even if it's the
Always.
smallest, littlest tweak,
One
because
thing.
our human bodies are
Yes.
not made
Yes.
perfectly,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
Everyone's
you have
different,
to
different
account
shape.
for one shoulder being
Rosie.
higher than the other, or
Cut yourself in half, you're not going to be even.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So it's,
Yeah.
something's going to be required.
there's always more to consider. This adjustments are always part of the process for
Yeah.
sure. So a question that I have for the two of you is that if a bride is nervous to purchase because she wants to hold off to the last minute, maybe they're on a fitness journey, or they fluctuate a lot, or they're nervous about ordering too early. What's kind of the options for them, or how would you go about that?
That's a great question. Yeah, sometimes we hear that brides, oh, I'm gonna wait a little bit. I'm like on a weight loss journey, or XYZ, any reason. What we say is that if you come in as early as possible, you will have the widest selection of dresses to choose from. You're not gonna be restricted by timelines. And also with many of our designers, we can place a preliminary order with production.
So basically, like, hold your spot in the queue of production.
Right, that queue that we were talking
That's
about.
very interesting.
Yeah, and then they'll give us a date far in the future where we can confirm that sizing. So that is going to mean that your time frame at the end is a little bit shorter. So like how we would normally want your gown to come in like 5 months before.
Right.
It's now maybe only going to be like 3 months. Still a gap. Like it's still plenty to work with.
That's very important to know that you're literally being held into the queue.
Yes.
And then you can still
just
do
need
it.
to get in there.
It's
like,
just
that's
get,
the
it's
most
getting
important thing.
Yes, get in there.
It's getting in there because again, we're having these calls where it's, oh my gosh, I can't find exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I go into the store and the selections, there's no selection. Well, there's no selection because of this, right?
Yes.
So being early is never going to be a problem.
Never.
It's being too late that you're going to come into more hurdles on top of everything else you're planning.
Right. Yeah.
So, I'm going to have you continue the whole having come back, but also keep in mind that some designers do a discontinuation list once a year as well.
Right.
So if you don't put yourself in that production queue and you wait and wait and wait, well, that dress that you have your eye on may be discontinued, and we really won't be able to get it at that point. So there's so many different
And I feel like once you have yourself set on something, like you're now set. And now when you can't get it, you're even more set on it.
Yes.
Totally.
Right?
Yes. And we might sell samples too. So, you know, maybe you started shopping with us and then you're like, okay, I'm not ready to commit. But that dress may not be here if you come back in 4 months, right? So, so you've kind of lost that opportunity to retry it. But
Tell me a bit about how the remeasure process works.
So sometimes we'll take your measurements in the beginning, especially if you're from out of town. Like, sorry, when I say in the beginning, the day that you say yes. And then, so again, we'll get the date from the designer as to when they need that confirmed by, and we'll have you come in probably like a week before then, roughly a week, And we'll take your measurements and choose your size. Sometimes, again, that's a custom size because of whatever your needs are, like maybe your split size.
What is a split size? Just for anyone who's asking, because anytime you hear split size, some brides will say,
what does that mean?
I lost you. What is split size?
So split size is kind of a generic term. It could mean many things. Most of the time what it means is that up top I'm one size and on my hips I'm another size, and in a fitted gown that's important. In an A-line, not as important, unless you're getting into like maybe you're very small up top and larger at the waist and you're in between two very different sizes on the chart. And so if you have a designer that's customizable and can be ordered in custom sizing, then you can what's called open the waist. So I can order you a size, let's just say like 20, and open the waist to a 24. So that way in alterations, you don't have as much to deal with, right?
Yes,
you don't have to deal with a size 24 taking the bust down to a 20.
I feel like most people are split sizing. It's very rare that someone's perfect
actually
all
on
three
that size
measurements,
chart,
right?
100%.
It's very, very rare.
And also like some people do end up changing their sizes. Some people don't when they come back for the remeasure. Or we also have your measurements on file. If you live out of town, you decide, you know what, I can't make it back for that remeasure. Just order as I was. I really haven't changed much. Let's just do that. That's still an option too. It's
amazing.
Fine, right?
Yeah.
So
that's a great option for brides to have for sure.
How are we feeling?
I think we've covered so much.
I feel like we could be here all day.
Yeah, it's
long.
true.
It's definitely good.
I feel like there's still so much to cover.
So much.
But we want to thank everybody for joining us today. Again, this is TWS. We are here at More to Love Bride. Make sure you follow them. And we are going to be back with more hot topics in the future because I feel like this conversation is not done. It's never going to be done.
Just beginning.
Right?
And for any of our brides that are watching, if you have any questions about any of the things we talked about, or any more things that we didn't talk about, let us know. We love to talk about this stuff.
Post it.
Comment and let us know. We'll keep it for our next chat.
Yes, amazing.
Take care, guys.
Bye.